Namaskar. Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to this session of Tuesday gatherings. Let us begin our session as usual with a prayer to the Guru principle, the principle of grace that makes every auspicious thing happen in our lives. So just close your eyes, be with your breath for a while. When we align ourselves with the breath, both the body and the mind start becoming quiet, and a state of harmony begins to build up inside. So from that state, let us offer our prayers to the Guru. Akhandamandalakaram Vyaptam yena characharam Tatpadam darshitam yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwarah Gurureva Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Shri Sadguruve Namaha. Once again, a very warm welcome to each one of you. We have a very special session lined up for this afternoon, as we have with us just Bhatia. She trains people, she loves to work with people, she teaches psychology and many healing modalities. And we are indeed very fortunate to have her here today with us. When this Tuesday gathering had just been conceived and born, the background was that Hema wanted something that would put people at ease, because we were passing through very difficult times, the COVID pandemic. And I think it was the second session or so which I did, and it was about the pandemic itself. What could be the spiritual perspective on the pandemic? And we did a small meditation trying to look at the pandemic and figure out for ourselves as to what it has in store for us. And I think Jess attended only 1 or 2 sessions and she was there. And she connected with the spirit of COVID. And she shared something with me which was extraordinary. She said that when I connected with this virus, I could see a vision of Lord Vishnu. He had the Sudarshan chakra, and the Lord said, "This is the virus. It has been sent here or sent to the planet Earth to cleanse things." And this was also a time when we all knew that Mother Earth is passing through a transition from the 2D, 3D consciousness to the 5D consciousness, because 3D is based in duality and 5D is based in love. And this transition has been so evident here because COVID brought out the worst of things in human behavior, and it also brought out the best of things in human behavior. So I was really amazed at the ability of Jess to connect with the virus and to bring this kind of a vision or message. And I knew then that, she is an extraordinary soul who has come here to serve and to do something really marvelous for everyone she comes in contact with. So I am very, very pleased to have Jess as a speaker today. And I had asked Jess yesterday that how do I introduce you? So instead of introducing it, I'll just read what she has written about herself.
Uncle, I think you introduced me very well.
You don't want me to read it? Let everybody listen. I'm a meditator from the last 15 years. My exploration of my egoistic and egoistic behaviors led me to look at life differently after strengthening my sadhana. Walking in the grace of my Guru, I am the disciple of Guruji Krishnanada, following the Rishi's path. And here comes the interesting bit. I am a management graduate who wanted to retire soon. So I did, at the age of 24. Since then I am doing what I love the most, understanding and working with human beings through their beauty and complexities. Interesting scenarios led me to the metaphysical world, and I am looking at the convergence of science and spirituality. Today I teach psychology and healing modalities, and I coach corporates and entrepreneurs. So this is Jess for Tuesday gatherings, and she is going to speak on a topic which should interest everyone because it is very important. She is going to speak about living life after the spiritual ecstasy, ज्ञान से आचरण तक. So it's all yours, Jess. Most welcome. We are so delighted to have you here.
Thank you, thank you. Namaste.
And enjoy yourself.
Thank you, Uncle. With this kind of an introduction, I feel, what did I do to be here? Whenever somebody talks to me or appreciates me for something, I always just have one sentence to give, which is that I am a pure product of grace. Agar kripa nahi, to main nahi. And I have even contemplated changing my name from the current name to Grace, but then I figured out that my name means joy. And I think this is one of my purpose is as well to bring joy to the interactions. But yes, when God Uncle was talking about me, I was parallelly thinking, about my life, about all these years that I have lived on planet Earth, I am born to a very simple, innocent, middle class Sikh family. So I'm a Sikh by religion. So I did not see any complications or complexities. All we had to do, or all that we did, all that we still do, is just go to the Gurdwara. That's it. So this is the kind of simplicity that I've seen operating at home. And when I grew up and I left my job, as I said, I retired at 24. That is when the spiritual path came my way. I was a very egoistic and a short-tempered person. हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना, गुस्सा नाक पर रहना. मेरा गुस्सा हमेशा नाक पर रहता था. It did not find any other place. What could I have done? I remember myself for some reason as an angry child. Though I was the firstborn, I was always over pampered. Still, I remember that, I had some kind of anger within me. As a teenager, I was very philosophical. I used to talk about pain and suffering and how that was important. And then I think, as few of my friends call me, the curious case of Benjamin Button started, that I started to regress in age. So I was an oldie first, and then I started to become younger and younger in my spirit. And I think the only thing that happened at that point in time was the spiritual path that began. So that was the second thing. The first, as I said, being born to this simple Sikh family. And the second was the coming of the Guru in my life. And I think also realizing that he is the Guru. At times I say that you have to be blessed enough to know that you are blessed. All of us are blessed. We just don't know it. So if I know that I am blessed, it's like cherry on the cake. And I think the third thing that came about that kind of defines me so prominently is the pandemic. A friend of mine called me and he says, I don't know, Jassi, what is happening in the world. And I just smiled. This was March of 2020. I just smiled and I said, you know what? I have been waiting for this for 8 years. And he did not know how to react to that. He says, what do you mean? I said, my guru told about all these things that were supposed to come in 2012. And Gaur Uncle and I spoke briefly on that as well. The coming of the ending of the Mayan calendar, the world coming to an end, it was all, I would say, exaggerated as per a human capacity, but in a way, it was all along the lines. So that was the third change that came in my life when I met Hema as well. I met a lot of other wonderful souls, and the journey of teaching healing, which is the modality called shamanism, that came in. So all that I will be talking about today is going to be based on what I learned from my family, what I'm still learning, what I learned from my guru, all the teachers that came to my, along the path, and the shamanic healing. So वो जैसे हिंदी का गाना है ना कि मेरा मुझ में कुछ नहीं, जो कुछ है वो तेरा. So I am absolutely nobody, no one. And that being said, I am also the speaker of today. So here I am. I would like you to see a small video, and I would like you to share a few thoughts that come to your mind. As you see that video, I will ask a question, and I would like a few of you to share. And then I will, of course, share, the reason for sharing that video with all of you. So here is this little video. It's a very short video. And that is what I want to open to all of you here today, that this particular short film that you saw of 1 minute 56 seconds, what do you think that is? What aspects of spirituality did you see in that little short movie? So anybody, please, who wants to share, I will be very happy to hear you. First of all, did you think it was spiritual? If yes, what was it? Hariji, please go ahead. You're on mute.
Hello.
Enthusiasm.
Yes.
A lot of joy.
Yes. Enthusiasm, joy.
It is about
Remaining in
sharing,
the present.
Remaining in the present.
sharing love, sharing love and happiness,
Sharing love,
and
happiness,
happiness,
compassion.
Yes.
compassion. Yes.
Anyone?
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't see that. Thank you, Shobhaji. You're right.
This lady has forgiven that child, no?
Yes. The old lady with limited
Ah,
resources still
yeah.
forgave the child. Yes. Anyone else?
The sattva force works through its own miraculous ways.
Absolutely.
It was a very different level of love and understanding. The old lady, who had so less, but she understood so well the child psychology and never wanted to dishearten that small guy. I think the whole scene was very, very lovable, full of compassion, and teaches us a lot. That just a little bit your materialistic loss is nothing. But what the child is gaining and we are gaining is too much to describe.
Absolutely. Very beautiful. Yes, Gaurav.
Could I say something? Could I say something?
Just what I felt was that it is about the unity of spirit in creation. The way the things are woven in the video, there is no separateness anywhere,
Yes.
and that's the most wonderful part I felt,
Yeah.
and it really touched my heart.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes,
It's a
Rakesh.
beautiful video. It's a beautiful video. एक बच्चा पहले सोच रहा है किसी को खाने के बारे में. Second moment he sees that accident and his total brain acts on a different thing. So that is spirituality most probably. When you see someone in need and you, instead of eating yourself, you leave it to give it to him or her. I think that is spirituality, where you actually work for others, not for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. You have shared very valuable points seeing the video. And I am glad that all of us could see those shades of spirituality. Once I was having a discussion with someone, and I was basically focusing on that I am a psychologist by profession. I am a management graduate. And now, somehow, sorry, there's somebody, okay, Mohiji is writing that love is everywhere in the whole video, no selfishness. So everyone is happy and calm. Yeah, that's great too. Yes. Even with loss, yes, there is perhaps no pain, no suffering. And I think in the loss, when we do not feel the suffering, pain is, I think, more physical, but suffering is a choice, is when the grace has more opportunity to operate. At times people ask me that, you teach and you heal, do you not get drained? Do you not get tired? And I always say that I've just stopped explaining people, but I am not healing. I am not teaching. I am just present here. The only tasks that I'm doing is that I have taken bath physically, energetically, mentally and spiritually, and I'm sitting in front of you. That is it. इससे ज्यादा मैंने कोई काम नहीं किया. और इस सफाई के रहते जो फ्लो होता है वो अपने आप होता रहता है. So I was talking to this friend of mine and telling him that, I'm into psychology and management. It's all very logical. And now these healings come to me. I don't know what to do. And his friend was sitting on the back seat of the car. We were driving to some 50 kilometers from my place to the other end of the town. And she was sleeping. When we reached the destination, a young girl, 18 or 19 years of age, she just got up and she says, have we reached? And I said, yeah, just about to. She says, just I overheard you talk about spirituality and psychology. Tell me, how are they different? And I was like, of course they are very different. Psychology is about the mind, management is about decisions, and spirituality is very right brain. She says, if the spirit is in me, I am alive. That means I am bringing spirituality to every activity that I'm doing. So at no point in time am I different from the spiritual self. It's always there. And I was like, wow. वो बोलते हैं ना कि जाने पता नहीं किस भेष में मिल जाए भगवान. यहाँ भगवान मेरे सीट के पीछे बैठ के आराम से सो रहे थे. आए, एक लाइन बोली और चले गए. And that's all the interaction that I've had with that girl in my life. But what a dent she's made by telling me that. The mind always wanted to live in duality. Okay, tell me if I'm doing this right. Tell me if I'm doing this the right way. Oh, I'm a Sikh. How can I do healing? Oh, psychology, let me do this. There's always been a division. And then something as beautiful what God Uncle spoke about, that this is the world of 5D. We do not have duality here. Duality coexists in the form of Shiva and Parvati. Shiva is the stillness, the absolute bank of the river where he sits and he asks his family to enjoy because he is holding that for them. And that's why the entire symbol of yin and yang comes together as the family of Shiva. This also recently a young woman taught me. She said, do you know what Shiva represents? I said, yeah, of course, he represents the essence of the world. He represents spirituality. He represents the beginning and the end. She says, you know what? Down in South, it's his entire family that represents this. Because they come in with such different characteristics. If you look at Lord Ganesha, you look at Lord Kartikeya, they come in with such different characteristics. They are bringing the world together in order. So that is the stillness of Lord Shiva. And look at Goddess Parvati. She just flows, the essence of femininity. And this is duality existing together as oneness. And I think this was one of the aspects that I saw in that video with all of your sharings. What's coming to me is, I will define that in 2 words, which is innocent wisdom. Whether we looked at that old lady, whether we looked at that young child who by mistake threw the ball on that little tea stall, or you look at that young kid who was so excited with 50 rupees. He was imagining, मैं ice cream खाऊंगा, मैं झूला झूलूंगा, मैं यहाँ पे कुछ खाऊंगा. And then he just sees, oops, there's something that has happened. And somebody requires this 50 rupees more than I do. And what an innocent wisdom he brought about in that moment. And I think that is the path from theory to practice. That is the path when people talk about spirituality and they live spirituality, is to be able to live in that wonderment, in that awe at all points in time. It's like the first experience. As I woke up today, it's the first experience. It's the first time I'm waking up. I would have this joke with my participants that each time I would get into a relationship, I've had 2 relationships in my life, romantic ones. And both the times I felt we are holding hands for the first time. Each time we held hands. So the experience of newness each time was very special for me. It never became mundane. जैसे नहाना rhetoric और mundane हो चुका है, वैसे साधना mundane अभी तक नहीं हुई, खाना mundane अभी तक नहीं हुआ. So I think when we bring that essence in is what begins to define us from a world of oneness. I was reading about the 4 stages of life that, Hinduism, the tattva of Hindu, the element of Hinduism describes a way of life, which is the 4 stages. And all of you here know about it much more than I do. I'm just bringing in my perspective here with regards to the topic that we are on today. And those 4 stages are, it's brahmacharya, it's grastashram, then it's vanaprast, and then it's sannyasi jivan. And while I was looking at this topic and thinking about what to include, I thought, isn't living spirituality all about living these 4 ashramas every single day of our life? We define the first 22 years as the brahmacharya, which is where the education happens. Then we define the grasth ashram. The moment you turn 23, 24, you have a job. What's the first question people ask you? Shadi kab kar rahe ho? Shadi ho gayi, acha bacche kab kar rahe ho? Because it's very natural to move into the grasth, into the domestic chores. See, how is it to answer bells in the morning? Once I came back home from office and I looked at my mom and she says, I'm very tired. I said, ab karte hi kya ho sara din? And she says, ek din ghar ruk kar dekho. And I thought, what does she do? She packs lunch for all 3 of us. Of course she does, but she's all by herself at home. And what is there to do? And as luck would have it, God gave me that opportunity very soon. One day I was home alone. I swear, I got so irritated. My office is so much better. हर समय घंटी बजती है, कोई ना कोई आ जाता है. अभी दूध ले लो, अभी ब्रेड ले लो, अभी ये चंदा दे दो, अभी ये Amazon का पैकेट ले लो. And when mom and dad came back home, I told them, I said, you please take care of your home. I am very good outside working. I have my boundaries. I'm an authority person. I make decisions. This is something that I cannot do. And when I saw her doing that, I thought, this is the epitome of living spirituality for me. What she brings to us every single day. She's the background worker, and we are the ones getting the limelight. That is spirituality. In that grasth jivan, people are living that so beautifully. I am single. I don't even know what it involves to raise up kids. What does it involve to handle the tantrums of a husband? I have no idea. And it's very easy for me to speak on that because experiencing it. So that is grasth ashram. And then vanaprast is all about becoming that, what we call in English as the crone when we are talking about the feminine, the wise person. And then the sannyasi jivan. But if you look at life, if you look at living spirituality, I thought these 4 things is something that we are doing every single day. When we come to these Tuesday gatherings, we are into the brahmacharya life. We are all learning from each other. We are learning from ourselves. When I become aware, I become my own teacher. That is for me one of a very small part of the essence of Aham Brahmasmi, because I'm becoming aware. As I awaken, I learn from myself. That's brahmacharya for me. Grasth ashram, when I'm attending to the bells, when I'm talking to my parents, when I'm talking to my friends, when I'm talking to my nieces and nephews, my siblings, that is grasth jivan. And that is giving me the perfect opportunity to see how much of spirituality am I actually living. If I still have my anger on the tip of my nose, my 15 years did no good. Accept except to my ego. My ego still feels very good. आपको पता है मैं 3 घंटे रोज मेडिटेट करती हूँ. अच्छा, बहुत अच्छा. बाकी 21 घंटे क्या करती हो? चिल्लाती हूँ. बहुत अच्छा. 3 घंटे तो मेडिटेट करती हूँ ना रोज. So the essence of that is, can we build a world? That's what my question to myself is, and to all of you also. Can we build a world wherein we don't have to sit and meditate? Because when we are meditating, what we get in that world, we are already living that in the next 16 hours. The awake hours are all meditative. And the best way that happens is in the Grast ashram. Where else will it happen? When my own people touch my red buttons, that is only exam where I know how much of spirituality have I passed in. Have I been able to do grade 10th? Have I been able to give my board exams of 12th and just pass, get a distinction, or got a 90%? Sitting in my room with my eyes closed and hands here and chanting and meditating is wonderful. But do I take this out of the room into my life as well? And then with the wisdom, with the teachings, that is also what we are doing. When we are talking to people, we tell them about our experiences, and our experiences become the teachings for other people. And then there is a time wherein we are all by ourselves, meditating, contemplating, reflecting, journal writing. That is the sannyasi jivan. So when we are able to live these 4 stages of life every single day, I think we are living spirituality. And it's very interesting. Each time I went for a meditation course, whether I went with my own guru, or I went for this 10-day silence retreat up in Dharamkot, which is the Mahayana tradition of Buddhism. I have done art of living as well, and I've done Kriya Yoga as well. I'm an explorer. I like to see what's happening in the world. I'm a very curious person. And each time I went there and I learned something and I picked up something, I always came back and said, how do I use it? You know, a cycle or a car, which is not being used much in these 2 years, there is a lot of wear and tear in that. The railway engines that have not been extensively used in these 2 years, the maintenance cost of them has gone very high. I want to keep my maintenance cost very low. So I have to ensure that I don't get rusted. And the only way to ensure that I don't get rusted is to use the knowledge that I have. जब वो ज्ञान जिया जाएगा, तो वो wisdom बन जाएगा. And it was very interesting going to those courses because I just felt so much of ananda. I felt so much of bliss. The 10-day silence retreat, when they said it's you have to be silent, means silent for 10 days. I'm like, I'm not too sure I can be one. As you can see, I talk a lot. And at the 10th day, we were 200 people there. Imagine 200 people in a hall having bun and peanut butter with a little soup and salad as 3 meals in a day, silently. And on the 10th day, when they said your silence is now over, nobody wanted to talk. It was such a beautiful experience. I felt that level of bliss, that level of spiritual ecstasy within me. And I thought, wow, this is the life to live. And then what happened? I had to get my tickets back, which means I had to book a bus. Suddenly I had to look for a place to stay. I had to go for lunch. I had to interact with people. I came back home. Remember, I am the one who went for a silence retreat. My family did not. So I had to be with them. I was doing more courses. I was teaching. I was learning. Where did that ecstasy go? It just fell flat. And after 6 months, there was a need to go for another spiritual retreat. You know, like we have window shopping. Now we have a lot of spiritual window shoppers. keep hopping from one course to the other course in an attempt to seek something. Because what we want to do, according to me, is we want to sustain that high that we achieved in the course. But after the ecstasy, it becomes very mundane. And that's when I started to look at what is it that we need to do to bridge this gap. And as I said, the three governing principles of my life have taught me that. And this is what I'm sharing with you today. I remember my Guruji always used to say that when his guru initiated him into the guruhood, he was very excited. He said, I wanted to wear the saffron robe. I wanted to wear all the things that you see these gurus wearing. I wanted to have a particular place. And he wore it for a day, for 2 days. And third day, he came back to his normal clothing. And when somebody asked him that, oh, Krishnanada, what happened to your saffron robe? He said, I realized you cannot eat pani puri on the side of the road when you're wearing that robe. I thought, wow, here is this guy bearing his soul in front of us, telling us how his ego wanted to dress up in the saffron robe. And that's what he did. And then he realized he cannot eat puchka on the street because he was wearing saffron robe. And I thought, I need to learn this. I need to step down from being a corporate trainer. Oh, I have coached this, I have coached that, this is what I do, this is what I do, I travel. I have to step down. And I asked him, I said, Guruji, how come you have so much of humility? And he said, we come from the earth, we go back to earth. Tell me, where is the point of ego? And I thought the way he said it, he makes so much of sense. Where is the point of ego? But here I was living all those 24 years of my life thinking, I am the center of the universe. Everybody revolves around me all the time. And everybody did, by the way, because I was an A scholar. I told you I was the firstborn. My personality is such. I am well built, tall and fat. So people noticed me. And I thought, oh, the world revolves around me. I am the sun and somebody is the Venus, somebody is the earth, somebody is the Pluto. And they just keep revolving around me. When I met him, I realized I was absolutely nothing. I was that speck of grain, that speck of stardust that is just here. There was another time when we went to meet him. He was in Bangalore. And I had my aunt with me, and my aunt's name was Kiran. And, you know, we are familiar with that culture. Kiran in south of India is a name for a male. And here in the north, we have that as a female's name. Now, and he was such a humble guy that you did not need to book appointments to meet him. So on this particular day, we used to do the chanting of Ram in this Lord Anjaneya Hanumanji's temple on Saturday. And that's when we arrived. We went for the chant. There were about 20 stairs. We came down those stairs and my guru was standing with 4 people and talking. And we just stood outside the circle waiting for him to notice us. As he looked at us, I introduced myself and he said, I remember you, because we'd spoken on the email a couple of times. Later on, he spoke a lot about our connection. You know, if time permits, I'll come to that. And then he looked at my aunt and my aunt said, Namaste Guruji, this is Kiran. And I cannot even tell you how apologetic he was, because once she wrote to him saying that there is somebody else who's talking about something, and he basically scolded her on the email. And he was so apologetic because he said, I thought you were a man. And in no way will I ever scold my daughter. So sons can be scolded, but daughters cannot be scolded. And he was apologetic. And I looked at him, this is my first time meeting, and I'm like, wow, I rarely apologize to people, even if it is my fault. Remember, I was an egoistic person. I don't apologize. I'm not supposed to say sorry. It must be your fault, highway or my way. That's how I lived for a long period in my life. And this guy, who is a Sapt Rishi, one of the Rishis, the Maharishis, is saying, I am sorry. Ooh, there is something in life that I'm missing for sure. And when these conversations about ascension started, a lot of information during those times, I'm talking about 2009, 2008, the internet was getting flooded with 3D, 5D, new age, a lot of these things. And I used to read a lot on that. At that point, people were talking about ascension. And I looked at my guru and it came to me, maybe first descend, then talk about ascension. Can we first belong here as earth babies and then talk about ascension? And one of the times I remember somebody telling me that, do you know a common thing with the meditators? And I said, okay, I am curious to know what that is. And he said that the top 3 chakras of the meditators, which is the throat chakra, the third eye, and the crown chakra, are usually very clear. I said, wow, that's amazing. I've been meditating for 2 years now. That means these chakras for me are clear as well. He said for a lot of people, even the heart chakra is clear because, that's the center point of emotions. That's the seat of feelings. I said, okay, so I am sorted in 4 chakras. He said, no, that's not the point I am making. I'm making a very different point. Okay, what is that? I want to know. He says the bottom 3 chakras of meditators are invariably blocked. I said, ouch. Do you mean to say my root, sacral, and solar plexus are not working fine? He says, most likely. I said, what is the reason for that? He says, because you want to levitate. You want to become the light. You want to ascend. You don't want to ground yourself in reality on earth. When you ground yourself is when you feel how does it to live here. When you've been looking at doing your purpose and going back to your planet, that's how I live my life. Oh, you know what? I don't belong to this planet. I have to do my purpose and go. That's it. Always in the zone of fleeting. These chakras are very beautifully aligned. But for the rainbow body to come in, we have to be an earth baby. And that's what we are. Because the earth is the one that is nourishing us. While the sky watches over us very beautifully, is the earth which is taking care of us. And I thought that was a way of integrating spirituality in everyday life, to descend. And the image that comes to my mind with this is a tree. Like, this huge tree with roots that perhaps go and connect to the other roots as well. And then this tree has branches and leaves which are literally touching the sky. That is the anchoring that spirituality begins to give us. That here we are together on earth. And at the same time, we are able to see a lot of things and ascend as well while staying here. We don't become that helium balloon. Do you remember that balloon that we used to have in childhood? वो 5 रुपए का मिलता था, उसको ऐसे पकड़ते थे, 1 सेकंड अगर वो छोड़ो तो वो ऊपर चला जाता था. And then it used to stay up. And I think that was the levitation of spiritual practice without practicing it, without living it. And when I held that balloon in my hand and held it close, I felt connected to the balloon. And I also felt connected to the floor. And I thought that was living spirituality. That is the kind of world that we are bringing into reality right now. And if you look at the word spirituality, it obviously comes from the word spirit, which is a Latin origin. In English, of course, we are talking about here. Hindi Obviously, the source is Sanskrit. Spirit means a breath of life. And this is exactly for me what we saw in that little video as well. When I am bringing my life to my interactions just the way I am, I think that is living spirituality. And that is how the ecstasy lives in us, through us, and as us. A lot of times people used to ask me earlier, abhi koi aisa sawal nahi पूछता है. Pehle bahut पूछते थे, oh, how about work-life balance? You know, there's so much of work and then there is life to take care of. How do I do that? Oh, can you please take a one-day training on work-life balance? And I used to always ask them, I said, please first, let's distinguish these two things. Tell me, where does life stop and where does work begin? Can you give me that boundary, please? When I'm at work, if my father calls up, I do pick his phone. Hello, Papa. Sab theek hai, Papa? Acha, chalo, main baad mein baat karti hu. I did pick his call up. When your daughter calls up, you may be in the middle of things. You would just pick up or leave a message that I will call you back. While you're working, you're attending to life. And when you're in life, there is an email that pops up that says, oh, a job opportunity with salary increase of 40%, interview tomorrow. And you're in the middle of family watching Netflix. Do you go and see that email and do you say, no, I'm living life right now. Please work, go away. We don't do like that. We don't live in distinctions. We do not live in boundaries. Then why do we talk about boundaries? Why do we talk about those experiences which are different from who we are? And that brings me to something about the body. The human body, I think, has been my biggest question mark in life. While I was growing up, I was fed with so much of food that I had put on a lot of weight. So my entire life has gone into, let me lose some weight, let me get fit, and let me again lose weight, and let me again get fit. So I have had this struggle with the body. And as if you remember, I told you as a teenager, I was very philosophical. So philosophical person does not live in the body. The philosophical person lives in the mind. I liked those intellectual discussions. I liked those intellectual debates. I was, a scholar when it came to representing my school. I was all of that. I was living in the mind. After that, when I got working, again, I had to use my mind. I was in sales and marketing. It's a very tough, competitive world, which is a different scenario. Where is that coming from? But that's what we were taught in MBA. And that time also, I had no connection with the body because my mind was active, was so active. Then I came to spirituality. Where did my attention go then? My attention went to bathing the soul, to cleanse the soul, to ground the soul, to levitate the soul, whatever. But I started to live in the spiritual essence of me. Sab moh maya hai. Where was the body? I did not live in the body then as well. Because then at some point in time, we have body, which is our temple. The soul resides in the body. You've got to take care of the body. Therefore, I finally came to the conclusion I have a body. Mind you, for 24 years, I did not know I have a body because I was living in my mind. I was living in my emotions. I was very short-tempered. So I lived in the mental and the intellect domain. And then suddenly in spirituality, people say, oh, you have a body, you must take care of it. It's the temple. It's the only place we have to live in. Thank you so much, because I now know I have a body. Today, I can tell you from my experience, it's not only that I have a body. I will go to the extent of saying that I am the body. the essence of what the body brings in is defined by so many spiritualists and scientists today. Everybody is familiar with Dr. Emoto's experiment of water crystals. If you're not, please remind me later, I can talk about that, but I'm sure you will be. Now, that study of Dr. Emoto was taken by Veda Austin, and she has come up with this book, which is called as The Secret Intelligence of Water. And she's been running a lot of experiments on it. And the simple experiment that you can begin to run yourself is if you take 2 jars of water. So let's say that you have these 2 jars of water. Put water from the same source. And when you put water from the same source,
Just please unmute yourself.
sorry, I'm so absorbed in talking, I forgot that.
No, I did it because there were some people who were continuously being unmuted.
Yeah, thank you. So take this jar of water and, for example, label it love, and keep it aside. Take this jar of water and label it hate, and do this experiment. I've done this experiment, that's why I'm saying. It's coming from Mr. Emoto's experiment, and I did it at home. And on this particular jar of water, write hate and put it separately. Now put a little anything that you want to sprout in the water. You can put your sprouts, you can put a flower, whatever. And few days later, you would see that the love and the hate will have different reactions of the substance that you've put in. The water has memory. This is what we have been talking about. The science is saying that now. The Hindu way of life is talking about it since time immemorial. That's why we have ye jal hai. जल आप थोड़ा सा लेते हो, ऐसे पीते हो, फिर उसको ऐसे कर लेते हो. आप पानी को ऐसे लेके नहीं पीते. आप पानी ऐसे पीते हो या ग्लास से पीते हो. आप पानी पीते हुए ऐसे नहीं करते हो. पर जब आप मंदिर जाते हो, आप उस जल को ऐसे लेते हो that you don't even want a drop of it to fall because it is sacred. That's sacred water. How does it become sacred? It becomes sacred because of the environment. And that water has memory. So if water has memory, what is my body made up of? My body is made up of cells. What is the composition of a cell? The cell is mostly empty. It has a fluid, it has water in it. So eventually, as the earth, so am I. I also have 70 to 80% water in my body, which means that my body is my memory center. And if my body is my memory center, remember when you go and meet somebody who you don't like, you can tell it from your mind, अच्छा इंसान है, मुझे फायदा होगा. एक बारी मिलने में क्या जाता है? You worked your emotions out as well. But there's something in your body that tells you to go back home. There's something in your body that repulses you and takes you off the place. So I am my body because my body is my unconscious mind. It is the one that is providing me the intelligence to walk around. Everything is connected to this. Even the chakras is actually a nexus of the nervous system and the endocrine system. So though it's an energy vortex, it still is coming from the body. That's why the cleansing of the chakras are so emphasized on. Because when we cleanse the chakra, our body releases good hormones. When that releases good hormones, it goes to the nervous system and we function better. Tell me, am I not my body? And when I live in the body is when I live spiritual essence as well. So in that sense, completing it, bringing it back to oneness, I never arrived because I never left. There is no question of two things, of materialism and spiritualism, because the essence of me brings both the things as one together wherever we go. And when I see me, I mean everybody else as well. This reminds me of a little story of one of the gurus of Sikhs. So the first gurus of Sikhs has been Guru Nanak Dev. And he turned of age, wherein his father, who was a trader, basically a businessman, he thought that his son is now ready to take his business ahead. So he sent him with rice and he told him to do some business and come back. And he told him that you better do good business, bring in profits, because that's the essence of business. Hema and I were talking about it before the talk began. So Guru Nanak went on this little trip. He was all happy and he was like, okay, my father's given me responsibility. I am now going to make this business work. I am so excited. And he arrives to this place where he sets his little shop up and he has this so much of grain to rice to sell. And the first person comes in and he begins to pour rice on the scales. And he says, ek, do, teen, char. The guy says, that's it. That's all that I want. So he gives them and takes the money and goes. Eventually, he keeps doing that for everybody. The seventh or the eighth person who turns up, he starts to pour rice for him and he says, ek, do, teen, char, panch, chhe, saat, aat, no, 10, 11, 12, 13, 13, 13, 13. 13 in Hindi, translating into English, means yours. So he played on the linguistics and he kept giving him rice. When he came back home, of course, he was at a loss. And his father said, what did you do? And he said, khara sauda, sacha sauda karke aaya. Profit hi profit kama ke aaya. This is the essence of a true businessman, that he brings in his spiritual essence and thinks, as somebody was sharing right in the beginning, brings in a lot to the world. As my container gets filled, it's more and more that goes on, because I am that drop in the ocean and I am also that ocean. So I would like to complete it by giving the summary in 4 A's. And those 4 A's, as I look at living life after a spiritual ecstasy, or let's change the topic and say living life with the spiritual ecstasy, now that we are towards the end of it, I would define it by 4 A's. And that would be awareness, acknowledgement, acceptance, and action, or no action. That's also an A. I become aware, I acknowledge my pain, and I also acknowledge the suffering of the world. And I accept it, like we all accepted the pandemic in a way, our own ways. And then we decide whether we act or we don't act. And this action is defining me. My being originates in the action that I am taking, or I start with my being and my being, then the action follows that bit. So with that essence of walking from awareness to action, I think is what amalgamates life and spirituality together. Gaurangal, I would like to give it to you in terms of, are we open to people sharing right now? I have a small meditation that I want to take them through. I definitely would want to hear about what people have to say. And if anybody has any questions, that is welcome too. You're on mute.
Please unmute yourself and you can just go ahead and give just a feedback or any questions you have. We are waiting. So who goes first?
Come on, I have spoken for an hour. You can speak for a
Kundraji, are you there?
Just G, I think it was a
Let
delight
us,
listening to you.
yes, great.
It was a delight listening to you. You are way beyond the age what you look. It clearly shows that you're a very evolved soul. And I may be gray in hair, but I'm quite a bacha in front of you. And love to interact and listen to more of yours. And you have this corporate style of communicating. That's fabulous because that really syncs very well among everyone around, you know. And the way you explain, the way you got those examples, I think beautifully woven. And compliments to you, and I'm so very delighted. And thanks to Gorsa, he keeps getting nuggets from I don't know from where all, one better than the other. It's so difficult to say who's better.
Came through Hema. So credit
I'm telling you,
belongs to
it's such a
Hema.
delight to be here. You know, today, like again this time, I was to leave today for some place, and it just so happened, and had to come back. So this is a destined thing which is there. And one thing, you know, the film which you showed, you know, such film doesn't happen on its own. You know, we may drive. You drove a very good lesson out of it. But what is to be seen, you know, though this is a film, but there are people actually who perform. These are the people who are actually very evolved souls. They are way, you know, have been ahead. What that child can see and do, you and me, we can't even think. Sorry, you may be ahead, but I can't even think on those lines, you know. And there is a great thing to learn from such things. I'm very glad that such films should be shared because, you know, like what you said, the water, what type of energy you give it down, such films do reflect that energy. And I'm telling you, watching that movie, there was so much of energy which actually I could absorb and I could feel, you know, that there was a, you know, the tingling sensation with me. And this is nothing, which you know it better, that every cell within you starts resonating with what type of energy is around. Thank you very much, Jas. You were brilliant, and thank you. And I can't even say God bless you because you are very evolved.
of course.
Sir, Just is my teacher of shamanic. So, and what a journey it is for both of us. And I
Brilliant.
always tell her the presence she has and her voice. I many a time tell her, please do some voiceovers. So it's a
No, she
pleasure
has
to
a very
have you.
corporate, yeah, she has a very
Yes.
corporate style, which is very essential, you know, because that connects with the young a lot. So she
Yeah.
can really communicate with the vast.
And she holds you.
Yes,
She
yeah.
holds you.
This holding doesn't come by words. It
Yes.
doesn't come by
Yes.
thing. Let me tell you, it's an energy which actually gets developed. You know, she's been meditating for 15 years. All this is a development from within. You know, Nirmalji's book, you know, the one which is there, beautifully talks of evolution. You know, that's what is, you're evolving every day. And everyone will have to evolve subsequently. So it's how you're going. So every time you do a thing, your cells are getting better scientifically. Actually, you're moving into a direction. And so, obviously, when you are doing that, there is better vibrations coming from you, and that's how same words spoken from your voice or your mouth reach up that person better. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Rajaji. Thank you. And as you said, that all of our are bachas here, and because we are bachas, we in the essence of that child.
And anybody else wants to come in? Please unmute yourself.
हेलो
हाँ राकेश.
हाँ जी
हाँ
बोलो
बोलो.
बोलो
हाँ बोलो.
मैं can I speak in Hindi because I don't feel that I can express myself in English very well. Maybe that
हाँ हिंदी में बोलो है ना.
जस के समझ में आएगा ना।
हाँ हाँ, जस को बहुत अच्छी तरह से हिंदी आती।
मैं कह रहा था कि जो हम लोग हैं, मतलब मैं अपनी बात कर रहा हूँ, we are metaphysically babies, small babies, and you are metaphysically very evolved too. तो तुमको बहुत कम उम्र में बहुत कुछ समझ में आ गया जो हम लोग को अभी भी शायद नहीं आया है या आ रहा है धीरे धीरे। मतलब this Tuesday gathering, I am learning a lot many things. I have changed myself in different ways. So it's great that you spoke in such a nice way, simple way. You are very fluent. और बहुत बहुत अच्छा लग रहा था क्योंकि I was all concentrated there. Usually क्या होता है, आदमी इधर distract होता है, but when you spoke, distraction was not there. So that shows that you are a very evolved soul. Right. Okay.
Thank you, Rakesh. Anybody else? There were a few things that just stood out for me. You know, you talk about that meeting with the Guru and how he apologized. See, evolution is about becoming transparent. So when you are transparent, the ego is not there. It's about antahkaran shuddhi. Spirituality, growth in spirituality is about antahkaran shuddhi. So there are these 4 instruments of the inner perception, and we constantly purify them, and then there is no place for ego to hide anywhere. It just leaves. And it was a very, very profound thing, you know, to learn, and one sees how the gurus are. And in the Shiv Sutras, there is the sutra which says Vismayo Yoga Bhumika. The background of yoga is full of wonders. When you are established in the union with the divine, then everything is a source of wonder and joy. Like you said, you know, every time you touch someone, it's a new touch. It's totally different. Every time you see a sunrise, it is not the same sunrise. People say, same sunrise. I am giving sound healing. And some people attended some sessions. There were some intensives that I gave, and I gave people some free, you know, place in those sessions. And after that, I asked them, "Would you like to join another one?" And often the question was, "Are you going to repeat the same?" So it is like this, that when there is perception is not there, then people will think, "Oh, it's going to be repeated." But the energy of every session is going to be different. But the choice to the exercise of choice to experience that energy in that moment has to be made. It has to become a conscious choice, and that is what spirituality is about. And then, you know, you shared how you became a teacher, a counselor, and then you made this very profound point that I want to explore, and I want to share with others. I want to try it out on myself. And that is what brought me to this point. I am contemplating this. Die empty. If you have learned something and you have not shared, you will have to come back to this world again, take birth again to share. There are so many people on our Tuesday gatherings whom I have been asking to come and teach or share. And they are hiding behind one excuse or the other. But it's a kind of a message for all of them that if you don't do this, here is your opportunity, because it is a forum where nobody is going to judge you. So don't do it, then it is your choice. You will have to come back in another lifetime to do that. So the choice is yours, because existence offers everybody a choice. So you can choose the slow process, you keep doing it, birth after birth, and there is a faster paced choice. You get into a rocket and just fly off, which is called the way of the eagle. So you have chosen the way of the eagle. At 24 you said, okay, I am not going to work, I'll do this, I'll do something on my own. So that's the way of the eagle. So the earlier we get out of our self-imposed limitations, The subconscious mind tells us you can't do it. It always comes up with some excuse. But the moment we just challenge ourselves and get out, that is the path to freedom. Freedom perhaps may not lie in sitting in a cave and meditating for a lot of time, because you come back out into the world and it becomes too challenging. Sometimes who go to the cave and meditate, they can't come and function in the world at all. I have seen some of those people. So, but the karma resolution happens here in the world. So you have a family, they are the best karma resolvers, because it is only because of karma that you have that family. So, and then the other point which really stood out for me was that you made this point that you realize that I am my body. And it happens only when we spiritualists start living through the lower chakras, because connection with earth is there, connection with water is there, connection with fire is there, and all these things if we really work upon, then we are not such airy people, just flying off here and there and doing nothing. So that is very important. And the other point that just came to me was that who gets enlightened? It is the body that gets enlightened, because this 70 trillion cells living in this body, they are all living beings. Each one has their own history, their own memory. They are containing impressions of so many lifetimes. Each one has a different impression. So by doing sadhana in this life, we purify each cell. And only when the cells are purified, at the vibrational level they have just shed off all the debris, then the body becomes enlightened, and then one can be in the state of living liberation and one won't come back. So there were some very, very profound points you made in your own, sort of fascinating and captivating way. It was so wonderful to have you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for this forum, and thank you for the benefits that everybody's bringing in.
Anybody else wants to say something? And then, so just you would like to lead us into a meditation?
Sure.
And at the end of the meditation, you want me to just do the closing Shanti part, or you will do that closing? And
After meditation, I'll hand it over to you.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone. I think it's time for silence. And let's do that. Just wanted to take a couple of breaths. Conscious breaths. All of us are breathing, just conscious breaths. And as you take this next breath in, I want you to just drop your awareness to your heart center. That heart center, which is a fulcrum of all of life and beyond. And as you drop into your heart center, I'm keeping my hands on my heart. If you want, you could do that too. Keeping your eyes closed. Imagine that there is a line, a straight axis that is passing your heart from the bottom of the earth, going into the sky. So this straight line of pure energy that is connecting your center line, connecting a sky chakra and the earth chakra. And feel yourself as this being. Now imagine another line that goes parallel to the ground, horizontally through the heart. Like in from the left side of the body and out from the right side of the body in a straight line. And these two lines, the vertical and the horizontal, meet at your heart center. And just look at this horizontal line for a while. And take your field of awareness beyond your physical body into the space around you where you feel this line is extending into. And take your awareness a little further just to check till what point do you find this field of awareness, which is right now expressing itself through this line that's extending through and through in the field. And gently bringing your awareness back to your body. Like really becoming aware of your boundary, the physical boundary that you have. The top of the head, where the boundary, the physical boundary is actually the scalp or the hair. And then moving to your entire silhouette, to the face, taking the shape and size that you are. Really feel as if an artist is drawing your outline. Feel the outline of your body. And at this point, if you want, you can release your hands. Check with your body. Is it comfortable in the position that it is right now? Do you want to take your specs off? Do you want to roll your shoulders back? Would you rather lean into the chair a little more? Do your sit bones want to feel the chair, the sofa, the bed? How does your jaw feel? Does it feel relaxed? Do you need to move it around a little? Unclench it. How's the inner part of your thighs? Do you need to let some pressure go? Just let off the steam. And how's that little finger of your toes doing? That little toe. And as you take this inventory of your body, look for a place in the body that doesn't feel very good. You know, you may have a physical pain. We are sitting for such long hours. It may be a lower back pain. It may be a cervical. It may be your legs, your feet, shoulders. So look for some physical pain in the body. And if there isn't, that's all right. Look for a point in the body that feels tensed. Even when you take your attention there, it still feels stiff. And if you're doing so well that you have no point of discomfort, energetically or physically, just keep your focus on the center of the heart and just bathe in that joy. And for the most of us who feel a certain discomfort, just orient your awareness to that discomfort. Like as I am guiding, I can feel a certain discomfort at my lower back on the right side. And I'm becoming aware of that. As you take your attention to that part of your body, look closely, just have a closer view to it. Does it have a shape? Does it have a size? What color is it? And if you don't know, please go ahead and make it up. You know, a part of innocence is making things up, like a child does. So look at the shape, the size, the color. Look at the temperature of it. I am becoming aware that I have this little pointing the size of an all pin. That silver all pin with a head and pointing at a particular area. That's my shape, size, and color of the pain. And as you identify that for yourself, experiencing it, possibly, say, for a couple of days to a couple of years, just imagine that you're a bird of your choice. You could be the eagle, you could be a sparrow, a parrot, a cuckoo bird. And imagine that you're sitting on this beautiful branch of a tree. And sitting on this beautiful branch, you are also looking at the pain that you have in your body. And just stay with that a little more. Being that beautiful bird on this expansive tree of life, looking at the pain that you have in your physical body. And that's all that you're doing. You are just being a witness. Just observing And now breathe with conscious awareness. And as you breathe with that awareness, along with the bird on the branch, you also experience the pain. So you're living in this beautiful experience of being on the branch as a bird and the being who has this pain right now. And begin to now look at your body, yourself, as one being. Instead of divisions of wellness and illness, I feel good here but not there. Should I do this? Should I do that? Just letting all of that coexist. Seeing yourself as one whole integrated being, just as is. Nothing to add, nothing to subtract, and you know what? Nothing to edit. And in this entirety of yourself, bring your attention back to the fulcrum, to your heart center. And putting your hands together in a way that it touches the heart center, your thumbs touching the heart, in the Namaste posture. With the awareness, the acknowledgement, the acceptance, and the action, even of non-action. Going to the principles of Guru, grace, and gratitude. Orienting yourself to the here and now. Slowly moving your fingers, moving your toes. And returning on the screen as soon as you feel ready. You can open your eyes, taking your own time. Thank you. Thank you for being so receptive. And thank you for the presence that each one of you brings in. It's very beautiful to be here. Uncle, over to you. Uncle, you're on mute.
Thank you, Jess. Words are not enough to thank you. And it was a wonderful experience bringing awareness to body, because normally when we talk of awareness, we are likely to forget the body or transcend the body. But it is bringing greater awareness to the body, so it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. So, anybody who has wanted to share but hasn't so far, you can. Or everyone is so zapped. Okay. So we will end with the Shanti part. And I think you have created enough curiosity just that you will have to come here again and again. And remember my words, die empty. So you have to empty yourself a little more here on this forum.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah. So we'll end with the Shanti part. Om Sarvesham Swastirbhavatu Sarvesham Shantirbhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhino Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhave. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May peace and auspiciousness prevail everywhere. Thank you everyone. We'll meet next Tuesday. Have a wonderful week.